wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I wanted to start my presentation with a sense of worry that the number is very small, but I think Professor has answered my concern, probably because it's the leadership. But once again, I want to also maintain the fact that occasions of this nature are always having a very small number. We must admit this. And I think it answers part of the topic talking about Islamic identity in modern society. So many times we have that fear of confidently identifying ourselves as Muslims, and I think that is the beginning of our problem as Muslims in Nigeria and indeed all over the world. So I think I choose to make the paper not academic in nature like I informed the MSS. I wouldn't want to make it a topic that is academic, that will generate so much concern, but I choose to speak on some issues concerning the topic, like talking about the origin of the Muslim society itself, the prime position of Islam, challenges of Islam in Nigeria, prospect of Islam in Nigeria, and then the concluding part. And I am also not going to take much of your time so that I will not sound too academic for us to comprehend each other. I begin by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making it possible for us to be here, and for also recognizing me to speak in this very important occasion. It's not a small occasion, because anywhere you are going to talk about Islam, I think there is no place that is as important as discussing about Islam, especially when it has to do with the current realities on ground. So I started by insisting that I have to talk about how we come about MSS. My reason is because for me, there has never been an association, an organization that has remained consistent in its activities, in its crusade, in its direction, like the MSS. Right from our secondary school days to university days, I think there is no association that has remained dogged, that has fought for Islam in institution like the MSS. So we just have to remember how it has come into being and why the MSS. I think the whole topic is centered around how the MSS came into being. Now, MSS came into being based on the desire to safeguard the fundamentals, the fundamental position of Islam, the culture of Islam, Islamic identity, especially at the beginning of colonialism, when virtually all schools are Christian in nature, and there is so much Christian evangelism. And I always say the southern Christians are more serious than us, and because that is even where the MSS began. MSS began in Lagos, in the West, and it's because they wanted to protest against evangelism. At that point in time, around 1955, virtually all schools are Christian in nature. And for you to enroll, you have to identify yourself with the Christian virtues. And I know you will agree with me, even today, there are still institutions in Lagos, in the West. In fact, we don't talk about the East, because the East is even a section of the country, I speak without apology to anybody, where Islam has no recognition. Just 2 days ago, a friend of mine was in Imo State, and he told me that the Sarkin Hausawa in Imo, when they paid him a courtesy call, he told them that do Allah kan wanda ya shiga cikin garin nan da dogon riga. I fear for your life. Just be moving in shirts so that you don't identify yourselves as Hausas, as Muslims. You see the danger in the 20th century, 21st century, sorry. So you see, this is a serious problem. So this activity started there, and I think even in Uso today, there are schools that are Christian in nature. And for a Muslim to enroll in Zamfara State, where we proclaim our state being Islamic, you have to identify yourself with the tenets of Christianity to enroll. So if we are talking about identity, I think we are going to start from the zero level for us to continue to engage ourselves. I know it's never too late to start any discussion of this nature. I'm not digressing because whatever I'm saying is part and parcel of the whole discussion. So like I said, MSS began that crusade, and as I said, we are all living witness to what is happening and what the MSS has continued to do. Challenges of Christian evangelism. Muslims were studying under hostile conditions. I think up to today, it is regretfully, to lament, I will call it lamentation, that only few months ago that the Supreme Court ruled the use of hijab in Lagos schools. You see, it's very unfortunate that all these years, MSS started in 1955, and the first conference where the national leadership were elected was in 1955 in Lagos. See how many years still there is a battle of wearing hijab or not wearing hijab. And I think if we are to believe in the social media, you see United States of America allowing Christian Muslim police women to wear Islamic dress in the US. You see so many leaders of the United States Assembly, Congress members identifying themselves as Muslims. But in Nigeria, in fact, we have that fear in us. We have that inferiority complex in us, not to call ourselves Muslims. And there are even occasions we go where they will say, please, let's pray according to our faith. Even in Zaria, when we attend meetings, they will say, pray according to our faith, so that the Christians will not feel they are segregated. But no iota of that is according to Muslims and Islam. I think it's very, very unfortunate. Now, like I said, MSS started there, and here we are today. And I also wanted to add that we know Islam as a religion is a total way of life. Islam is a total way of life. That is why some scholars used to argue that we should not say politics is dirty. Politics is not dirty. We should partake, because unless we become part and parcel of it, we cannot change the narrative, the ugly narrative. So Islam encompasses total way of life, and that since Islam, whether anybody accepts the facts or not, is the second fastest. For me, it is even the fastest growing religion in the world, organized religion. Approximately 1.6 billion Muslims are scattered across the vast geography of the world, and they are majority in 45 countries, and the rest live in 149 countries as substantial religious minorities. The expected rise of the world population between 2010 and 2050 will be 9.3 billion, or 35%. Over the same period, the Muslim community is expected to rise to 73%, to reach 2.8 billion, or 30% of the world population. So you can see, with this number, Islam is a force to reckon with. I think currently countries like the United Kingdom, France, United States of America are witnessing increase in number of Muslims. There is no day they will not have rapid conversion into Islam by the Christians, by the non-religious people, by the traditional believers, by whatever. In fact, we were in the United States in 2012, and we were shown churches that were sold to Muslims and they were converted to mosques. Because Christians are reducing in number, Muslims are doubling in number. I think just most recently, the Prime Minister of UK was was a Muslim, and we had a mayor of London, who was a Muslim. I think up to today, the mayor is a Muslim. So you can see a very appreciable position of Islam. So if you have this promising position, why should you have any fear to call yourself a Muslim? I think it is a pride for anybody to call himself a Muslim. And then we say, what is Muslim identity? Muslim identity is a kind of religious identity, the formation of which can be influenced by religious institutions, organizations, and associations. It should be considered as an individual's recognition of his belonging to the Islamic religion and its values. There are over 500 references in the Holy Quran which invite man to observe, consider, analyze, think, deliberate, and reflect on the natural phenomenon and all that it offers. I think there is no religion which motivates, which influences, which made a man to be so special, which human being made a human being to be so special like Islam. In fact, throughout the Quran, we have various verses where Allah gave the supreme position of man, supreme position of a Muslim, and if we should live by that, we are going to have a very safe environment to live in. I think our crisis started from where we lost our identity as Muslims. I'm not saying we are not, when we see ourselves secular in nature, I'm not saying secular from the derogatory point of view, but I'm calling it that because it encompasses all sects. I think MSS has no sect. It's not Izala, it's not Tijaniya, it's not Shiite, it's not any of this. It is a common association for all Muslims to fight a common cause. And that common cause is identity. It is when you have a common identity that you have a common front to fight an enemy. When you don't have a common front, when you don't have a voice to call yourself a Muslim, when you don't have a voice to call yourself as being the majority. Muslims are the majority in Nigeria. I hope you know that by simple geography. And then if we are the majority, I think we just have to take that challenge upon ourselves to openly identify ourselves as Muslims and fight a common cause. And I say, what are the challenges of Islam in Nigeria? Muslims all over the world are faced with great political, socio-economic, cultural, and scientific challenges with implication for its unity, peace, security, and development. I think even the current problem in Israel with Gaza, I think is another pointer to the disunity of Muslims. See the suffering every day, but the Muslim world is too inferior to even condemn openly in the United Nations to say enough is enough. Even with the countries like Saudi Arabia, who has a very big economy that can shake the West, they don't have that confidence, they don't have that guts to say enough is enough. I think this is a problem. In Nigeria, we are seeing the crisis all over. We are seeing how Muslims are being killed in the East. We are seeing even at the helm of Boko Haram crisis, the Western media in Nigeria are never quick to condemn the killings of Muslims. Or if one Christian is killed, they will say Muslims are making the whole country, they are Islamizing the country, they are attacking the Christians, and it is a capital lie for anybody to say Muslims are doing that. During the last administration of President Buhari, we see the Western media saying he is trying to Islamize the country. Today, what is happening? And nobody, only Murik is talking. You know Murik? Yes, they are the only people who are consistently talking. And they are not based in the north. They are not based in the north. We were in, even though I think I will talk about that in the subsequent discussion, but I will, so that I don't forget. We went on a study tour to Al-Hikima University in Ilorin and Crescent University in Abeokuta only last week. And it will interest you to know that the founder of Al-Hikima University has never attended Western education. He has no Western education. But because of his passion for Islam, he established Al-Hikima University for Islamic identity. He told us that he had to sell some of his assets in France to come and establish Al-Hikima University. The same thing with Prince Bola Ajibola, the founder of Crescent University. He had to sell his assets in London to come and establish Crescent University just for Islamic identity. I think today we have only 3 Islamic-based universities in Nigeria. Crescent University, Abeokuta, Al-Hikima Ilorin, and Al-Qalam Katsina. But for me, the 2 in the West are even more truly Islamic. My reason is simply because of their location. How they were able to stand their ground and fight to become universities. But we have over 10 Christian-based universities, and the most worrying aspect is no Muslim is given admission in the 10 Christian universities. There was even a case of a student who scored 300 points in JAM and was given admission because he has Yoruba names. They never knew that that person is a Muslim until when he went for registration and they saw Islam, they denied the admission. But the management of Crescent University said because Islam permits establishing good relationship with the Christians, they used to give admission to Christians if they will conform to the dress code and other conditions of the university. So when you go to that university, you cannot discriminate you cannot differentiate between Christian and Muslim because of dress, because of other stringent rules, because they are all Islam-based. What is happening here? What is happening in Zacas State? To digress a little, I had cause to challenge Council of Ulama 1 or 2 years ago here in Zacas State. I told them that, do you know that that year in question, I think it's 2021, only 2 students registered for Arabic in Zacas State in private level. Because Arabic is still minor, agreed, based on WAEC and ECO. But I told them, if we are truly Sharia state, Arabic should be compulsory subject, even if it is for our own use. If Arabic is minor in Zacas State, if less than 100 students are registering for Arabic every year, then it is quite unfortunate in Zacas State. I challenge them to their face, and up to today, there is nothing that is done about it. Professor Lawrence will agree with me that today in FUG, they don't have up to 10 students that are studying Arabic at the degree level.
The number of lecturers is higher than the number of
students. And I told them in Zacas, for the past 7 years that I have been the provost, every year I do admit students for Arabic, Hadith studies, Quranic science, 100 students free every year. All the students that are studying Arabic in Zacas are free. I admit them free without any charge.
I know that the Council of Ulama has started with every university and discussed on this issue. The only thing is that Council of Ulama can only advise. They cannot enforce. We discussed with the
The same point you raised is what we told Council of Ulama last month.
Yes, we were there, we discussed with him.
But I think
They brought this issue.
part of the problem is this thing should be issues that we discuss in our kutuba, in our various engagements with our people. We don't just say we go to the university to advise. The university has no problem. When you apply for admission, they will give you admission. So what will the university do?
No, what he's saying is the university told them
About this?
about this.
We
What you
discussed
just
with the
said.
university on this issue. We told them that I was only to advise both the
We advised them to go and
the ulama has done it. The only thing, if the government is not interested, then this cannot be exposed.
So that is that. That is just by the way. Because I intend to make the paper live so that we can at least rub minds about our situation in general. So like I said challenges of disunity and intolerance. Today, Muslims has never been disunited, has never been intolerant with each other like today. Though there are many Islamic organizations mostly propagating irreconcilable and working purposes while expending energy on their Islamic activities, the total effect is negative, and the organization usually end up in picking faults among themselves and over-concentrating on issues like Muharram lecture, Hajj lecture, leaving behind serious issues like Tawheed, prayer, unity among Muslims, and those matters that concentrate on advocating for Islam as a holistic way of life. For me, this disunity is because we have many organizations that are Islam-based, but we over-concentrate on issues that are trivial. I'm very sorry to call them trivial, but we know we commemorate Muharram. It's very important. We usually have lectures on Hajj, very important. But there are other issues, like issues of unity, like issues of Tawheed, like issues of prayer, like issues of brotherliness. Today, even our children have better Islamic education than us, but they don't know their uncles, they don't know their impact, immediate uncles. Somebody doesn't know his father's younger brother because they are always in schools every day. We forgot about the important issue of brotherliness, which is also a very important issue that will provide the much needed unity for us to continue to work in synergy with each other for the propagation of Islam. And then one of Muslim institutions and professionals and denial of Muslims' rights. Another challenge of Islam in Nigeria is having less number of Muslim professionals, even where we have, not having the confidence to call ourselves Muslims. I don't know if you are like me. When I realize that a prominent member of the society is a Muslim, I used to be a Muslim and a very devout one at that. And when I realized it's a Muslim, I was overjoyed. And that man has no iota of fear in him to call himself a Muslim anywhere. To say it's time for prayers in any meeting. I think that's issue in us, to have enough professionals, enough Muslim institutions, denial of our rights. Why will fix exam on Saturday? Nobody will say anything about it. But you don't see exams on Sundays. MSS always talk. I think I established the fact at the very beginning that I don't think there is any association that has remained committed and consistent like the MSS. So that fact has been established right from the beginning. Then what will be the prospect of Islam in Nigeria? And I say Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. In every 5 human beings, one is a Muslim. In Nigeria, the Muslims constitute a majority, being over 50% of the population, while Christians and other traditional believers constitute the remaining population. Our large number is our source of strength with unity and clear vision for development. We can provide guidance and a sense of direction to the sinking Nigerian ship if we will wake up from our slumber and practice and preach Islam with formidable team spirit. I think our prospect is if we can organize ourselves, if we can provide that unity, our large number will be our source of strength to fight for our prime and enviable position in the scheme of things. And advocacy and mentoring for Muslims. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Activities need to be at the forefront of advocacy for the rights of Muslims and providing a clearly defined direction for the Ummah through mentoring. At the moment, groups like the Muslim Public Affairs Center and the Muslim Rights Concern are doing well to fill this regard. Muslim intellectuals have great responsibility because it is only through the power and potential of knowledge, wisdom and skill, and by no other method or means that they will be able to regain the right for Muslim community to live as a self-reliant, equal and truly sovereign people, masters of their resources and destiny. With right advocacy by organizations like MURIC, like Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, like MSS, I think if we continue to have this kind of forum to deliberate on our problems, like the way you people carefully chose this topic about the Islamic identity in modern society, I think by the time we remain consistent. Primary schools, where we do what we call in English, catch them young. By the time you instill Islamic culture and values from the basic to the upper level, inshallah, the needed unity, the needed identity we need for Islam will inshallah bear excellent results. We need more sponsorship. We were in Crescent University and the Vice Chancellor took us around lecture rooms. And I was asking, please, anybody from Zamfara? In the whole of Crescent University, in the classes we entered, we have not seen anybody from Zamfara State. We had large number of students from Kano, from Jigawa, from Katsina, from Sokoto, but I have not seen anybody from Zamfara. In Al-Hikmah, I saw a very few number, but it's not enough. It's not enough. It's grossly inadequate. I think we need to have an Islamic university in Zamfara State, and inshallah, one is on course, because a philanthropist from Saudi Arabia has promised to provide one, and I am a member of a committee. And I think it is on that basis that we went on a study tour to Crescent and Al-Hikmah to see how they were established and see whether the same effort can be replicated in Zamfara. But I think we need more. We need more sponsorship of students that will go there and see for themselves what it means to have Islamic-based institutions. And I even ask, then apart from dress, what are you doing about the Islamic identity? They say they develop it in their curriculum. Yes, in their teachings, there are those things they still teach about Islam. And they say one pastor from River State sent his daughter to come and study in Crescent University. They asked him why. He said he wants her to learn the Islamic culture, especially the issue of dress and eating of halal food and other things. And he said the daughter is now in 400 level. So you can see people are admiring what we are doing. The only thing is we lack the confidence. we are still feeling inferior where we are the majority. Our knowledge is always the best of knowledge. If you see any Muslim, especially in those years, not now, if you see any Muslim with 9 credits, his 9 credits are for real. Anybody that studied in those days, if you see 5 credits by a Muslim, those 5 credits are for real. Anywhere you send that man, that boy or girl, he or she will excel. But not today. We allow exam malpractice in our schools when we know that it is against the teaching of Islam to allow malpractice. I always say it is wrong to correct a mistake with a mistake. If the southern schools are producing large number of graduates that are fake, I see no reason why Muslims will want to match the same number, simply because we want to have number and compete unfavorably. I will not say favorably because it's unfavorably. Islam is a religion that preaches truthfulness, uprightness. There is no Islam that says, okay, baina, or just do 50-50, simply because you want to catch up with Christians. Islam is a religion of truth. You either do it or you leave it. May Allah continue to safeguard our iman. And then conclusively, I say in the concluding part, challenges are a fundamental phenomenon in any endeavor. Identifying the challenges and finding workable solutions to combat them are sure ways for the emancipation of Muslim and Islamic identity in Nigeria. The emancipation of the SCIA should fully assume its rightful role of providing a direction for the Nigerian Muslims and the Nigerian nation. There should be a central organization that will speak for us, that we will respect, that we shall respect, that will continue to talk on our behalf if we must have the unity we need. In fact, progressive societies are those which believe in creativity, challenge, innovation, invention, new methodologies, and new adoption and external assistance for solution of their problems. They make their own effort, and in doing so, they no doubt use the available knowledge and know-how to equip their societies fully to meet the challenges of the future. So for me, the only way we can establish the needed identity in modern society, Islamic identity, is to explore these challenges which we mentioned, and then the opportunities which are our prospects. Like I said, we have challenges of identity, challenges of having less association that are strong enough to find our cause, having less number of truly Muslim professionals that are proud to call themselves Muslims and fight for our cause. And then I say the prospect is we should have more unity. We should have more institutions from basic, that is from primary, secondary to tertiary levels that are Islamic based, to have more unity. And when we do that, inshallah, the needed Islamic identity we need will surely come into being. With these few remarks, which I'm sure they are not enough, but they are meant to trigger more discussion from here and in many other forums. Inshallah, what we need for the emancipation of society, our society, by Allah's will bear fruition. Khairul kalam. MashaAllah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.